This is the Blackprint, where being black is always the topic of conversation. The Blackprint is brought to you by Rhymes and Designs and Good Evil Art. Welcome back to the Blackprint. This is MJ. We have Art with us again today.
What's going on, y'all?
Also, I hope you all enjoyed our special episode that we released on Wednesday. It was a critique of the film Get Out. I personally think it was a pretty interesting perspective, so if you haven't already listened to that show, you should check it out. Today's show is a continuation of last week's segment on leadership, so I'll be getting into the nature myth, and I'll be giving you a few words of wisdom from some of our most notable leaders. So let's get into the show. In my opinion, the most capable and competent person should be the individual that takes on a leadership role. That is completely gender neutral. Competent and capable has nothing to do with gender. The progress of our community, the progress of the Black community is constantly impeded by these notions, these white supremacist notions that we've adopted, that we won't relinquish because they serve some kind of purpose in different sectors of our community. Sexism and misogyny, that's not for us. That does not work for us. It has no role in our movement towards progress. Oppression has no role in our movement towards progress. And it's not something new. This is not something new at all. This is just a current iteration of an old issue, an old mistake. Look at the Black Panthers, for example. Black Panthers was an amazing organization, did so many awesome things. The Black Panthers really made the Black community think differently about what it means to be a Black person in this country and what protections are afforded us. And it really made us think about some of the necessary steps to staying safe and keeping our community safe, such as self-defense. And sometimes that's defending ourselves from the police, from the government, from whoever is trying to harm us. 70% of Black Panther members were women, but there were very few women in leadership roles. Some people in the organization definitely recognized that as a problem and made a concerted effort to change that. So that was a concern decades ago, and it's still a concern now. And it's not something that can just be brushed under the rug. It's really important that we talk about this. We rid ourselves of the shackles that are sexism and misogyny because it's holding us back. So now I'm going to get into actually debunking this alpha male concept or misconception that people run with in order to basically subjugate women in our community. In reality, if we want to talk about nature, when we want to talk about outside of, the human species, in reality, most social groups are led based on ranking. And more often than not, those rankings come from parentage that's passed down through the mother. For most social groups, it's not about who is the biggest, strongest male. It's about who you know. It's about who you came from. It's that kind of hierarchy. You inherit leadership roles in most social groups. Something interesting about the phrase alpha male is that David Meach, who coined the phrase alpha male, spent the rest of his career after he coined it trying to rid the world of that misconception. I mean, it's not to say that the idea of the alpha male is not represented in nature. And that's really important to know if you're going to talk about this nature argument. If nature doesn't actually say that most social groups are led by the alpha male, then if that is what's supporting your argument for males being leaders and women being supporters, then you would think you would maybe rethink that. Now, of course, there are real examples of, the alpha male leading the social group in the wild or nature, like chimpanzees. Chimpanzees are led by an alpha male. Now, there are multiple leadership styles in nature. There's rankings. There's the alpha male. And there's also the democratic process. There are several species, several social groups that use the democratic process to make decisions. They vote. For example, herds of antelope are believed to make decisions through consensus building. In their way, they discuss what is the best direction, what's the best option, what's the best solution, and once they come to a consensus, that's when they act. Another example is the African buffalo. They vote on the direction in which the herd will move. Now, outside of rankings and the alpha male and the democratic process, there are real examples in nature of female leadership. There are several social groups in nature that are led by females. One example is Bonobo Apes. Bonobo Apes is an important example because it's said that they have a lot of common ancestry with humans, about as much as chimpanzees. So, you can say a herd of antelope and African buffalo. It's not surprising that they do things differently than human beings. They're not really like human beings. But you start getting into, primates, you start getting into monkeys, and I think that argument gets a lot weaker. So with Bonobo Apes, their leadership style is based on female alliances. The females in that social group align, and these groups, these female alliances, decide how to attain and distribute resources, negotiate peace, and make decisions. The female alliance groups are the leaders. Another example is African elephants. African elephants are led by the oldest female in their group. And when they are led by the oldest female in the group, it increases their chance of survival significantly. Another example is orcas. When orcas are led by postmenopausal orcas, their chances of survival are increased significantly as well. And then there are plain zebras. Plain zebras are led by, believe it or not, lactating females. Lactating females are at the front of the herd. They determine the direction in which the herd will move. It's believed that they lead the herd because they're the most motivated for survival, for getting food, for all those things it takes to survive. They have to get food to feed their babies. They have to stay alive to be able to feed their babies. This new mother knows that her infant has a very low chance of survival without her. She is in the best position to make sure that her offspring survives, but that puts all of the other members of the herd in the best position to survive as well. If this conversation about female leadership didn't, for you, debunk this nature myth, I think at least the entire conversation about different forms of leadership, it provided an alternative leadership style example that's found in nature outside of the human species. I think it at least, this information deserves some consideration. So that was my 3 points, us all being leaders in our own way, what a leader is and what a leader is not to me, and then also debunking this nature myth using examples from nature. So we're moving towards the end of the segment, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation. So I decided to include some quotes from notable leaders in our community. The first quote is from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and he said, "Not everybody can be famous, but everybody can be great. Because greatness is determined by service." Because greatness is determined by service. I selected this quote because it speaks to my points about a real leader not searching for fame and notoriety. Also knowing that you can be a leader regardless of the scale, as long as you're serving your community.
Yep. So it's about service. It's about what you can do for the community yourself, what skills you can bring. So it's as basic as the accountant teaching classes, maybe. That's a form of leadership, using your skills for your community. As basic as a postal worker, using your skills that you've learned as a postal worker in organizing and logistics, maybe applying those logistics to help out a black-owned company. Those type things, helping people organize to deliver materials, whatever it is. A gang member or a civilian with gun skills, those type things, inviting people to the gun range to help improve your self-defense, our self-defense. Those type things are necessary. It's like whatever you're good at, bring that back to the community. That's leadership to me. It ain't all about what can I do to earn this dollar. It's about what can I do to impact my community.
The next quote is from Malcolm X. I actually have two quotes from Malcolm X, so this is the first one. The greatest mistake of the movement has been trying to organize a sleeping people around specific goals. You have to wake the people up, then you'll get action. I chose this quote because to me, the idea of a sleeping people is people not being critical, people not thinking, people not believing that they can take action without the direction of a leader.
Brother Malcolm. Yeah, I agree with that. It's basically, to me, that quote talks about education and the importance of having a proper foundation, which is oftentimes what you know, and that based in education. So if we could kind of improve our children's thoughts on themselves first, adults are kind of oftentimes stuck in their ways. We definitely can improve, undoubtedly. But the proper foundation in education is kind of what's going to prepare our future. So that quote right there, to me, just provides more direction from someone I consider a leader, Malcolm, kind of informing me on how I should proceed and continue to proceed. Like me as an artist, I understand the importance of waking up with people, not necessarily to inspire people to do something exactly how you want them to do it, but more so to help them just break out of certain thought patterns and to help them think differently. That's the part of waking up to me.
The second quote from Malcolm X is, if you're not ready to die for it, put the word freedom out of your vocabulary. I chose this quote because the quote says you're. If you, the individual, yourself, are not ready to die for what you believe in, you're not ready to die for this cause, this movement, then you are not actually fighting for freedom. You don't want freedom. I think this speaks to the point that I made about not needing specific leaders, not needing this limited, easily identifiable leadership, not needing those specific people to have a movement, to effectuate change.
Yeah, this quote right here inspires so many thoughts. You have to be willing to die for it. This is our children's future at stake. You got to think of it like that. You're going to die. Die for something is kind of what that quote makes me think about. Live your life for something or die for nothing. Yeah, so if you want to free yourself from this type of oppression, you can't be afraid of anything, not even death.
My next quote is from Harriet Tubman. Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. Coming from Harriet Tubman, this is a very powerful quote to me. I selected this quote because it again speaks to my whole argument that we're all capable of being leaders. We all have these tools to contribute in some way, that everything that we know and admire, it comes from a dream. All of the people that we admire, they had a dream at some point. No one starts out as being these people you remember in history.
Yeah, the biggest part of this quote that sticks out to me is the fact of every dreamer creating every dream. I believe that's what she said. I really feel like it is the individual that impacts the group. You can't feel like I can't do this, I can't do that. It's too big of a problem for me to solve. No, you go do something. Harriet Tubman decided to go do something. She decided not to sit there on the plantation anymore. She had a dream and she followed it. It's nothing wrong with following your dreams and doing the impossible, attempting to do the impossible. Do it. Strive. You know what I mean? If you don't get to the stars, you might get close and impact change in a manner you didn't even intend to. So it's really about getting started. If you really believe in a cause, really fighting for it and doing it, not just thinking about it. Make your dreams come true. That's what leaders do. Leaders really focus and impact the world in the way they want to see it impacted. They do it.
My last quote is from Angela Davis. I never saw myself as an individual who had any particular leadership powers. And I know that quote kind of sounds like it contradicts what I was saying about seeing yourself as a leader, as everyone is equipped to be a leader. But the reason I decided to include this quote is because to me, it felt like she was saying that she didn't do the things that she did in her life because to me, it's undeniable that she's a leader. But she didn't do the things that she did in her life because she wanted a title, because she wanted to be recognized as a leader. She did it because it was the right thing to do. Her commitment to her people, her commitment to her causes, that was the right thing for her. That was her playing her role. And so naturally, she became a leader.
To me, this goes back to what I've been saying all along. Do what you're good at. That's leadership. Angela Davis is a great orator, a great teacher, a great writer. So she ends up leading in that capacity. She's not necessarily looking to be the mouth of a movement necessarily. You know what I mean? She just knows how to speak and she knows how to articulate her point. So she ends up in that position. So she ends up being elected leader in that capacity because she's good at that. You know what I mean? So it's not about, okay, I'm a rapper, I'm this, I'm looked upon as this famous person. It's about which skill am I applying that impacts my community the most, in the most positive manner, I would say, that makes one the leader. Yeah, so that was my interpretation of the quotes. Thank you, MJ, for inviting me to the show. If I was to sum up leadership, I would, in one line or two, would be enhance your skills and bring those skills back to the community. Point blank, period. So, my name is Art. I represent Rhymes and Designs. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Rhymes Designs. We're dropping a new mixtape every month right now, the Do the Math series, the best music out, trust and believe that. So I'll make sure you stay in tune with that. But yeah, keep going. Do the best you can do for your community. And Blackprint, keep doing big things. Peace.
Thank you, Art, for being on the show and for providing us with your perspective on leadership. I'm going to end the segment with a song called Black Girl Magic from Lorine Chia.
Me and all my girls. Ain't nobody stop us. Me and all my girls. Me and all my girls. We don't want no problems. We gon' take over the world. Ain't nobody stop us. Being a black girl in this world, they don't understand it. it black girl magic. Call it black girl magic.
Me and all my girls, they are all fantastic. Call it black girl magic, yeah. Flying across the world, making our dream happen. All we can imagine. Throw something, watch me catch it, turn to magic. I ain't stopping no more tracks until it happens. Hit stages, buku, crowd control is tragic. Signing checks, just watch the spectrum, no grasp it. Black girl magic. Black girl magic. Black girl magic. Black girl magic.
Me and all my girls, we don't want no problems. We gon' take over the world. Can't nobody stop us. Being a black girl in this world, they don't understand it. That's cause we so magical. Call it black girl magic. Call it black girl magic.
That was Black Girl Magic by Lorine Chia. So that was our conversation on leadership. I hope you all enjoyed it. Least of all, I hope that it made you think. Thanks again to our special guest Art for coming through. As always, like and share this video and subscribe to our channel. Also, if you have any questions or suggestions, go ahead and drop a comment in our comment section. So that was a Blackprint, and I'm MJ, sending you love, peace, and ammunition.